Hello, it's Joseph again, and welcome back to part 3 of our Unlocking the Tech Tree and our Colonizing Kerbin series. So we're going to make use of some of those things that we unlocked in the last episode, so let's go through that now. We're going to use the following science. We're going to use the Mystery Goo, Barometer, Temperature Gauge, and Science Junior. Those are way too many barometers and temperature gauges. You only really need one of each because pilots, engineers, they can reuse those. So I probably just forgot that when I was building this. I was just building this as fast as possible. I'm pretty comfortable with this part of the game and building simple builds. We're going to use the batteries we unlocked, and we're going to use the first relay antenna available to us and the Terrier engine on this upper stage. And then we're going to make use of the swivel engine down on the next stage. That stage later on is going to help us push our craft towards the Mun, and eventually we'll come back to Kerbin. So this craft is a little bit slightly over-engineered for this mission because we're just going to do a flyby of the Mun, but it's not too over-engineered. Just if you're someone who really wants to be very picky about your Delta V usage and everything, this might be a little much, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of 50-50 at this point in the game to be really precise because you don't have a lot of things unlocked. Now, I decided to do this flyby of the Mun just to try and pick up some additional science and maybe unlock 2 more additional things. And then after that, the plan in part 4 is to go to Minmus. Minmus yields a lot more science. We could do the same mission probably easily, actually, with the amount of Delta V we have and get around Minmus, and we would yield more science. Minmus tends to yield more science, and it's actually a little bit easier to get there. So that's why in the next episode, it's going to be the first place that we land. But Valentina is launching now and is going to be our first Kerbin to get into space. We just ditched those side boosters. Those boosters are just there to help get it off the ground. The Reliant is a decent engine at this point in the game, but with this large of a craft with as many stages and fuel tanks, it would have had just a little bit of trouble getting out of the thicker part of the atmosphere. We also have these fins that we unlocked. They're a little big, but they're helping with control in the lower parts of the atmosphere. I chose Valentina on this mission. Bob has no access to maneuver nodes, so I wanted to make use of maneuver nodes with Valentina. I have played career modes, and at this stage in the game, when you have a career mode, you have to upgrade your buildings, and so the tracking station is probably level 1 of 3, and the astronaut complex is 1 of 3 in terms of where it is in the upgrade stage in the career mode. So really, I have done this mission before without maneuver nodes, and it's actually pretty easy. Getting to Mun and Minmus is really not that difficult. Quill 16, I'm gonna mess up his name, sorry Quill. He has a decent tutorial series that got me started, and he shows you how to get to the Mun without maneuver nodes. So I recommend checking that out. I also recommend checking out Matt Lowndes' series. He does a couple of series on just unlocking the tech tree and science modes. And of course, the one and only Scott Manley has some pretty good tutorials. So I chose the Mun. Once again, I chose the Mun just because it's pretty simple to get to, and we can just, do a quick flyby and unlock some more science. Essentially, I'm doing more science mining from last time, but I got tired of going to all of the launch areas, so I decided to do a flyby. Now, since Valentina, we have the advantage of her doing maneuver nodes, and she has a little bit of SAS control that we would have had with Bob, we just can't redo the Mystery Goo and the Science Junior. So that is sort of the disadvantage of having the pilot. So I decided to use the Science Junior once we got into low Kerbin orbit. We're going to use one. I'm going to use one of those Mystery Goos in low Kerbin orbit, and then I'm going to use the other one when we get high above the Mun. Since we had a bit additional amount of Delta V here, you can see me making a big inclination change. I decided to do that just to use up some more fuel because inclination changes at periapsis are a bit expensive to do. It's better to do an inclination change at apoapsis, especially if you have an elongated orbital path. So I decided to try and waste some fuel here that I didn't need. We're gonna real quickly get into the final stage, the upper stage here, and we're gonna actually have over 500 meters per second of delta V left over after this maneuver. And this was actually going to be the last time we use the engines, because I'm going to throw this craft into a free return trajectory. I really don't do free return trajectories very often, but in this case it made sense. We have extra delta V and we're just doing a flyby, so we really don't need the engine for any reason after this. There's not enough delta V to land on the Mun. There definitely probably would have been enough delta V to land on Minmus, but I wanted to unlock a couple more things before we tried for Minmus, as I said. So we're gonna fast forward here, and a lot of what's left is just doing crew reports, the temperature gauges, barometers, and EVA reports. So that's basically all that's left in this mission. So we're gonna do that. Looks like we're high above the Mun, and then we're gonna get low over the Mun. There's one, so you won't get specific biomes when you're low over the Mun. There's basically just one biome that surrounds the Mun there that you're gonna get. And then once we're done with that, we're gonna head back to Kerbin, which we're already on a path to do that. I could have dumped the fuel tank and the engine, except for the fact that the batteries and the antenna in there. Now the antenna is just for looks. There's really no use to it. Valentina can do maneuver nodes without a connection to the KSC. I had the batteries. I just wanted to make sure, since we're not making use of the engine and the engine recharges the batteries, I wanted to make sure that we kept those and didn't ditch those just yet, because I would have hated to get all the way back to Kerbin and the little bit of electrical charge in the Mark 1 command pod was used up because I wasn't paying attention, and just let it keep draining because I constantly have SAS control on. So that was just, you know, kind of making sure I didn't make some silly little mistake early on in the game. I hate this part of the game, making silly mistakes and having to go back and do a quick save or something. Well, now we're coming back into the atmosphere, and that inclination change increased our chances of landing in another biome. I think we land on the grasslands. I don't believe we've landed on that biome before. If we have, no big deal. But this is pretty much going to be wrapping up this mission pretty quickly. And Valentina is making her final descent. By the way, you notice there that I dropped the heat shield. That is not necessary in any way, shape, or form. We're going to be landing at a pretty decent clip, so we won't have to worry about that. It's just a habit. I do have some builds where I've had the command pod is loaded with some more things and we're coming down a little bit faster. So it's just a habit. It's not really necessary. All right, so Valentina jumped out. She ran an extra EVA report and surface sample since we're in a new biome, and she's gonna plant a flag because this is the landing spot after the first mission where a Kerbal goes into space. So she's the first one in space, first Kerbin to fly around the Mun and re-enter the atmosphere after doing a mission in space. So congratulations, Valentina, for taking that first step for all Kerbin kind. And we yielded a good 200 some science. It looks like we have now 257.5 science points. However, we're only going to be able to unlock 2 things. So what I decided to go for was advanced flight control. Gives me access to the Mark II command pod, which will allow me to bring a pilot and a scientist on our next missions. That way we can do more science. Our first reaction wheel is also unlocked there, and a couple of RCS thrusters. Those things are going to be helpful if we do any sort of Apollo style mission. And then in addition to that, we went to heavy rocketry, which gives us access to the Poodle engine. That's another decently efficient engine to use in space early on in the game, and I'm probably going to make use of that a lot. The Skipper engine is also in heavy rocketry. The Skipper engine is a pretty decent lower stage engine to use. Not the most powerful, of course, but definitely useful in these early stages of the game. And then a couple other boosters are also made available through heavy rocketry. So come back next episode and we'll see how we make use of these new things that we've unlocked from the tech tree. Thank you all for watching.